Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Kids Zone, the Christian education moment designed for the entire family. I hope that you had a wonderful week and that all is well with you and your family. We had a great time a couple weeks ago in Charleston at the International African American Museum and also celebrating the Founders Day throughout Charleston the entire week. I am still in awe and daydreaming and even night dreaming about the experience at the museum. I am one who loves museums, and shout out to one of my favorite movies, Night at the Museum, where the artifacts and the wax figures and the pictures and all the history in those museums came to life, which helps you to have an imagination when you're going through a library or going through an exhibit, because most of the histories we may not have lived during that particular time period. And so trying to understand what really took place beyond just a paragraph or the little excerpt that you have to read when you're at a library or at a museum helps us to reimagine or to think about what it may have been during that time. It's very similar to one of the things I do when I read the Bible. We all do it some type of way when we're reading. We somewhat imagine what the people may have sounded like or what they may have done, what they may have looked like when we're reading a particular story. And that imagination helps us to create some way of understanding as well as then to have some application because we can make it make sense and real to us. And so as people who, everyone has their own particular way of seeing the world. We are developed that way of seeing. If you think about like your physical glasses, whether it be sunglasses or prescription glasses, the ones that we get from the doctor, they give us a prescription. They have a certain thing, a medicine or a certain formula that is given into those lenses that helps us to see. That is what some people call your worldview. That lens is developed by how we were raised in our homes, the things that we were able to be privileged to learn in school and things that we learned outside of school. Sometimes our own experiences contributes to what we can see in that lens. Also, information that we receive from the world, whether it be through laws that are passed, whether it be through incidents that have happened in our world that we know about. All of those events, things that we bring to our worldview and the things that are impacting it that are outside of our control shapes how we can interpret a story. And so when you're at a museum, when you're at a library, wherever you're at, even when you're listening to a podcast or watching a TV show, how we interpret it is affected by how we see. Some people call that word hermeneutics. If you don't really know that word, that's okay, but it's how we interpret the particular thing that we're reading, whether it be the text like the Bible or a piece of history. One of the things I want to be careful about is that although we are using our lens to help interpret something, that may not be the only meaning. So that must mean that we have to go out and learn more research to understand what the context was at the time, because 2024 does not look the same as 1924 or 1824. What was happening at the time? What laws were in place? What were the conditions of the people who are in that story about? Who is talking in the story? Oh my gosh, it's so many different questions that you can ask and keep asking. And so with reading the text, reading the Bible, reading any information, although we may know the story, when we read it again and think about something differently, it helps us to have a different meaning or interpretation. It doesn't mean that what God's truth means or changes. It means that sometimes we change of how we see God and how we see what God is saying, even in the text. Wow. So during this history month of celebrating women, I ask you to go back to that library, go back to that museum, go back to your Bible and read about the beautiful stories of women that have impacted the world, both in the Bible and those who are in our present day today. And when you think about their stories and think about not just how you're reading the story, but also wonder what their story might have been like. What would they say about their story? I believe that your worldview will continue to expand, and you will see the beauty of diversity and continue to celebrate each and every person in this world for the beauty that God brings through them. Have a wonderful week. Happy Women's History Month, and I love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it.